Today's part 2 of my interview with Evan Bovee. If you missed part 1, you can either pause this video and go check out the last episode, or you can check it out in the archives later on. Either way, I just appreciate you stopping by the channel and watching the videos. Thank you. In today's episode, a little bit more interesting side of the hobby, we talk about what Evan does for a living and how that kind of intertwines with the hobby. Evan works with some pretty big names, so we talk about what their interaction is when they see their own cards. We also talk about what he has learned and his experience from selling on Whatnot. I know that's a huge platform for a lot of people right now, and I figured why not just get somebody who does it all the time so they can tell you straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, on maybe what you can learn, what is good, what is not good. And I think he shares some great information for you guys out there, for those of you who maybe are struggling on Whatnot, or maybe you want to get started on Whatnot and you just need some tips and tricks. So let's jump straight to part 2 with Evan Bovee. So since we're talking about autographs, let's just jump right into what this whole discussion was about in the first place. And I say that because we've been talking on Twitter or Instagram about these questionable Hulk Hogan autos that both of us have kept saying. You know, I'll have people send me a raw one and be like, have you seen this before? And I'm like, that doesn't look like a Hulk Hogan auto at all.
Yeah.
Then they send me one and I'm like, well, that kind of does, but it doesn't look like something that I got from the beach shop. Yet PSA is authenticating these. So that's really like, we wanted to get to know you and what you collect and all these things. But this Hulk Hogan auto discussion is honestly like the main event for this show. So I'll let you just kind of take off with that.
Okay. So there's a story behind all this. When I was starting to do through the mail autographs, there was a thread that was going around. I can't remember, but this was like, before Reddit. And everyone, if they had a success with an address, they would share it with people. And I remember that someone had posted a Hulk Hogan address. And I thought, well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send a card there and just see what happens. I sent the card in. And then you kind of forget about it for a couple months because they probably get a bazillion. And I saw something come back and I thought, well, that address looks very familiar from Clearwater Beach or, whatever. And I'm thinking, oh my, there's no way. And it was signed. And I look at the card and I'm like, someone is signing these cards. So I start looking at all the people that have been posting and I'm examining the cards. I don't know how you were as a kid. And this is going to be why I've gotten a little more crazy about all this. Is when I was a kid, I was big into Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Everything Kiss that came out had their autographs on it. And you knew exactly what their autographs looked like. So I'm sure people could redo those a lot, but you could always tell if it was them or not because it just looked right.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan's autographs everywhere. It's on all this WWF promotion stuff from back in the day. They would pre-print those 8x10s. I remember getting 8x10s at Toys R Us as a gift, things like that. So you just know what his autograph looks like. Well, I'm telling you, when I go to this thread, I look, every one of these Hogan autographs are fake. And I'm like, man, can't believe people believe this is real. And I'm typing, this is not real. If you want to do it just to feel like you have one, sure, but this is not real. So someone at this address, and I won't give the address because, first of all, I can't remember it. And also, I don't want more of these floating into the market.
Right.
But what I've noticed is that there's one guy that signed all this autographs. It's the same person. And because this person has oversaturated the market by signing these cards for Hulk, these people that do this PSA research on autograph conditions, the grading, they're considering them real autographs because they've seen it so much. They've been desensitized on what's real or not because they're just going off of, well, I see a ton of these. This is probably it. So I can tell you this right here, this card, that is not a real Hogan autograph. It's PSA authenticated. And I can just tell you right now, he doesn't sign like that. His K's don't look like that. The last A in his Hogan never is spelled out that strongly, ever. And so he has certain things about it that look right, like the G looks right. So I just typed in Hulk Hogan PSA DNA, and just to give you guys a couple examples. Here's another one. This is the same guy that signed that card too. It's not real. And so PSA now, because they have these in their system, they're going off of, well, that's real because I've seen it. Even this one is close and looks kind of, it's not. That is not a real Hulk Hogan autograph. So because of that, and because wrestling cards have gotten so popular, I've just started to save these screenshots and post them on Twitter. Fake.
Right.
So I'm hoping it kind of, I'm not saying for everyone to check with me for every autograph, but at least do a little research. Like, that's fake. His autographs don't look like that. So now, after seeing a few of those that are 100% fake but still PSA certified, and so like this right here, here's another one. This guy wants $1,500 for this card. His autograph,
that looks horrible.
It's horrible, and they authenticated that. So with all that being said, you know, I think if people are wanting to get a Hulk Hogan autograph, maybe get something that's top certified, Leaf certified, something, or, you know, do a little research. Like this one I had signed at the beach shop. That is a real Hogan autograph. It's a shitty card. Sadly, it was a 7, but it's a nice looking autograph. I did get some funny ones signed. Of course, I'm a musician, so him playing guitar, you got to have that one. I actually got every base card signed from 85.
Perfect. So, yeah.
Because and that's a really nice auto there. Like it's very spaced out well. He does rush these sometimes, but here's another one. That's a real one. Sorry, the lighting's a little.
Yep, you can see it.
Here's another one.
I like the placement of that one right in the middle.
Yeah, I do like that. And then this one you kind of miss a little bit of it because of the
black. Yeah.
Black. But anyway, what I've noticed though is these cards are still selling, and it's kind of depressing. And I think what hurts me the most is when I see people that I don't necessarily know, but I know their Twitter handle, and they're really excited because they got a new Hogan autograph and they post it. And I'm like, I just can't tell them because I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's fake.
Yeah, and it's tough because everybody leans on the industry standards of PSA and even BGS sometimes, and you
make mistakes, man. Yeah, you know.
Well, and I'd never thought about it that you were right. Like, how could they tell? I had two things that were probably the reasons they were authenticating these. First being, so I was talking about Greg Valentine earlier, and a lot of times these wrestlers will change their autographs a little bit, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's how they're passing. But then I didn't even think to see, like, if they put 2 or 3 of these through, and all of a sudden those are looking like the other 500 that are coming through, it's just going to keep going, like you said.
So, and then, we've started to see some WWE cards that were tops released as official autographs.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha Banks. Obviously, she didn't sign some of those.
Yep.
The S's are really weird. They're so perfect. The B is perfect. It's just, that she paid someone, or maybe her husband signed it or whatever. That's fine. But the 98 tops WCW release of that Hollywood Hogan card.
Yep.
Where you see it signed as HH. Guys, it's not his fucking autograph. It's not his autograph. You have to believe it. Whatever. It's not his autograph. The HH is not his autograph. I've seen so many of his signatures over the years. None of those H's look like how he makes an H. No way. It would have been so light, just quickly, it would just look different. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I think that's the first wrestling card that actually wasn't signed by the wrestler. That was an authentic Topps wrestling autograph release.
Do you think it could have been one of those unsigned ones? Because we know the history of that set and the wrestlers not signing their cards. Do you think maybe somehow that got out and somebody sent it to that same guy?
No, and here's why. I read maybe in a Blowout Cards message board years ago that some people think that Jimmy Hart just quickly finished them up for him. At that time period, Hogan was living such a great life. I'm sure he probably came in and signed a stack of them that day, and that was it, brother. And I'm sure, for all we know, he could have paid $100 to one of the other wrestlers to just finish sign. Bobby Duncombe Jr. Just one of those guys that was there, Lizmark.
Yeah.
Like anyone to just finish signing them for him and turn them in. And maybe no one at Topps ever knew. And at the time, how would you have even been mad about it? it's not like he signed many things HH back then anyways, or ever.
Right.
I've never just seen him sign that. That's another reason. We've seen all these incarnations of his autographs over the years. Hulk Hogan, Hulkster, Hollywood Hogan, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Just Hogan. I mean, there's so many versions of that WCW Tops card. So I think when it got to the last batch, that happened. So now here's my question: Does it hurt the value in the card? Apparently, no. Hell, I mean, people buy this card all day still on eBay. Would I buy it if I saw that card for $300 on eBay? I would buy it immediately and put it right back up there for like 600 or 700 because people are still going to buy it.
Yeah, and I think that's another example of where this set is trumping any autographs in it because it's like the lore of the set now.
Yeah, it's very so before all this, it's kind of funny. I'm friends with Charles Robinson. Before COVID and all that stuff, he was like, "Hey man, look at all this," and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "You have a Hogan," and he had the big show with the thumbprint. I think Jamie sold that one, and then he had something else, and he had he had the Bobby Duncombe Jr. card, and then he had the Bulldog one, and I just remember thinking, "Dude, I've never seen those." And he's like, "Well, I think Bobby turned these in like right before he died, and I don't think they ended up putting them in the." I was like, "Wow." I said, "That's probably pretty valuable." I think at the time I offered him 500 for Hogan, Giant, and maybe Bobby Duncombe, because I was guessing like Bobby Duncombe was maybe 100 at the time. It's probably two or 300 now, maybe more. I don't know. But I really just wanted the Hogan because he had a really nice Hogan one, and so I actually, the last time I've owned a Hogan from that, it was on. This is a great story. It was on Mercari, and I just casually typed in Hulk Hogan autograph, and it was the very first card that popped up, and it was $100, and I could literally not hit buy fast enough. So I bought it. I'm thinking the condition isn't amazing, but it was also signed Hulkster, and I had never seen him sign that, and it was a nice full autograph. I had it posted for this was pre-pricing of like everything being awesome. I think I posted it for 400 like the day I got it, and it sold within 1 hour.
Oh my.
Because that version, it's not as common. And I'm sure sometimes he signed the back, and sometimes it was just Hollywood. He was probably hammered on Miller Lite signing these things. Let's be honest. That's okay. So I've always collected Hogan. I always say collect what you like, because like at moments like this where the market's down a little bit, let's say you overinvested because it's kind of the hype of the moment. Who cares if you like it?
Right. 100%.
Okay to be stuck with something you like. If you start doing this, like if I started doing this with basketball and baseball, I wouldn't know any of these players.
Right.
It wouldn't mean anything to me.
So as we kind of close out this autograph thing, we've run the gamut as far as like what to look for, what's real, what's not. What do you have to say? Like, what advice would you give anybody out there looking for, like, okay, I want to go buy a Hulk Hogan autographs. What do I need to look for? Like, where would you steer them to?
I would still stay on eBay. I would just start following several auctions, and just like, let's say you pick your card that you want to get. I do a search and see if there's other versions of it. Like, does the autograph look similar? If you're trying to get like him signing a card that's not authenticated, you're just gonna have to do your research. Luckily, PSA has autograph examples of him, and the last time I tried did not include the fake one. So that would be a good example. PSA is very good about comparing autographs. They usually have at least one or two of every person that's collectible enough to get an idea. I would, and would I put a value, like, am I giving prices out on? I just sold a Hogan relic auto that I had him sign. It went for less than I thought it would. It went for around like 160.
That's low.
I would say at that price point all day. Like if you don't have 150, 160 all day, and then once you get into the 250, 300 plus, you're trying to find something more specific for you. But if you're just wanting to get in the door, I picked up it was a Panini Americana Hogan for $78 shipped. He said there was a crease on the card, but I didn't really care because the autograph, it was a sticker autograph. It was a beautiful sticker autograph. I put it up on eBay. The card had no creases, first of all.
Wow.
The corners were a little dinged because it came from like Indonesia. Like it came from like so far away. Like I had to wait a month for this card to come. I mean, I kind of wondered if it would ever come. It came, it was fine.
Wow.
And I put it up for I think 150 or something on eBay, and I got an offer 135, and I was like, I'll take it, whatever. It's dinged corners. It's not perfect, but he's always going to draw money. I don't care how many autographs he signed. He signs probably 100 a day at the beach shop, depending on when he goes in. And I'll still continue to send cards down there to have signed, just kind of like building out my collection, how I want it to look, and certain things, that are important to you from your childhood, to have sent down there and signed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. After talking to you, my go-to would be either I would look, if I was going to do a Hogan auto, I'd look at one of two things. If it's a raw card that is just a base card or all-stars or whatever it is, send it to the beach shop, go to the beach shop, do something like that.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do that, I think your next safest bet is to raw or graded, buy something certified from Topps or Panini. I mean, yeah. I think those are your two best options right now.
There's something to be said too about when he does these autograph signings now. I think people need to keep this in mind. When you're trying to put a price point on his autograph, I think most of the time when he signs stuff now at the shop, it's like minimum $150, $175, $200. And then as older and more valuable the card becomes, way more than that.
Yeah.
So anything that you can get now, and this is another thing, I want people to pay attention to this. What I've noticed is other collectors that have had Hogan sign some things and you get that authenticity sticker. I've noticed that they've been putting it on fake autographs.
Oh my.
So it's starting to get out of hand. It's people that probably have paid for real autographs that are just trying to sell off crappy ones to make up for what they paid for or something. I don't know. It's kind of, so I would say normally if you see that Hogan's Beach Shop sticker, it's safe, but there have been a couple things that have come out with the sticker that I'm thinking that's not real.
I actually kept my Beach Shop sticker separate as a collectible into its own.
I know. I didn't want to put it on my card. Right. Now, do I have like 10 to 20 put away? Yes.
Yeah.
Are they for sale? Hell no. I don't want someone ripping someone off.
Right.
It's not like you can really include it in a PSA slab. At that point, no one wants it.
Right.
The deal has been done. I will show you this. I did send some cards recently to have signed, and I'll show you. I gotta find this now. He started to. So used to when you would send off, you would get a signed certificate from Hogan as well. So sometimes you get two autographs. So what I've noticed, I'll just show the back here. He used to include something like this. I don't want people to take a picture of it, but so he's included something like this. Hogan used to sign it. Well, it's actually Ron, the guy that runs the shop, signs it. But what I've noticed is there's he just put a sticker on something now.
Gotcha.
So I think they prevent a little bit more. I think Ron was seeing what was happening. And he's a smart businessman. So I think that was his way to maybe put a stop on that kind of stuff from happening. It's still, though, if anyone's ever questionable, just tag me on Twitter, Evans on Tour, and I will give you a thumbs up or down, or maybe even a middle, I'm not sure.
Speaking of being on tour, I think that's a good transition to talking about what you do for a living. I know it may be wrestling related, maybe not, but it's always interesting to kind of get behind the scenes information on the people we have on the show that maybe you don't see on Twitter. And, like I've found that through the community and finding out other things that's not card related about some of the people we interact with is fun. Just get to know people better.
Yeah. What I've only, oddly enough, I've only met a couple people. I talked to Josh, Wax Pac-Man, a lot. We've never met in person, but we're buddies. We talk a lot. We'll make phone calls, talk for like an hour or two. Another person I'm friends with, obviously Jesse Shui. He actually came out to a show. I work for ZZ Top right now. And oddly enough, ZZ Top attracts a lot of wrestling attention.
I could imagine.
And so I definitely, there's a little, I don't really know how to word this. Hunter is a big ZZ Top fan. So the last time the band was in New Hampshire a couple years ago, Triple H and Stephanie came out and like partied.
Awesome.
Didn't happen this time. We were just in Guilford, but Stephanie was planning to come out to the show, but because it was a Willie Nelson show and everything's super locked down, we couldn't have any guests at all. You had to wear masks all the time. But with ZZ, like they've been kind of within WWE and played a few times on TV, especially the Attitude Era. I remember them playing. So there's just something there. I think Hunter and Stephanie love the band and they seem like they're pretty nice people. So I toured for years. I think 2007 was the first year I ever toured. So I'm at 15 years now. I started with a band called the Plain White Tees. I got lucky early because they were on a tour bus already. I didn't have to sleep in a van with 5 or 6 other guys. Just started from there and then just kind of kept growing. Oddly enough, tour bands like Kid Rock, it's brought, I wouldn't say friendships, but relationships with Hogan and Flair. They were both going to come to shows. Hogan actually was going to come to one in Florida the day that I can't remember, some allegations were dropped about him, something. And he was literally going to come to the show. He was like, yeah, I can't wait, brother. Then he called me back and was like, hey, man, doesn't look like I can make it. I'm not feeling that well. He just didn't want to tell me the real reason why he couldn't come, something come out, which for all that shit that he's went through over the years, people still love the guy. He's been through a ringer, and Flair has too. Flair said Kid Rock is his favorite artist. He says it on his podcast all the time. He was going to come see us in Atlanta. I had a dressing room. I had a cooler of beer ready. We went all out for him and Hogan. Flair, the day he was going to come to the show was the same day Charlotte debuted on Raw. And so he called me that morning at like 10, was like, hey, man, sorry, Ashley's going to be on TV tonight. And I said, dude, say no more. I'd want to be there too. That's awesome.
Right.
But because of that, there's a little interaction there and kind of get to know some of the wrestlers that way. And I don't necessarily know Hogan that well, but there's been a couple phone calls from him. And anytime I come through Florida, I always invite to him. And Flair lives in Tampa. So it's just the wrestling hotbed down there in Florida.
So the people that you interact with on tour, whether it's, these celebrities or musicians or people that you're just like working with, like what is the kind of, have you introduced cards to them? Like how has that gone, especially with pop culture and music cards exploding more recently?
Well, the funny thing about all this is, so working for ZZ Top, Billy Gibbons, he's a very interesting guy, very cool guy. He seems so much younger than his age. Just likes to know a little bit about everything. And I had him a couple cards signed once, and he'd never seen them before. And I was like, yeah, I like to do this with wrestling and, with other friends and bands and stuff. And I kind of decided maybe I'll start collecting a signed card of every artist I work for.
That's cool.
This is, I think, their first card.
That's awesome.
That's the 79 Warner Brothers. And this is like kind of the go-to set that people pay big bucks for. So to have one signed, I think I paid $50 raw for this. It's not cheap. And this is the cleanest one I've seen pop up.
That's a great looking card. Like less is more kind of thing with something like that.
Totally. and I've had Billy sign a couple, and they even had Garbage Pail Kids, and Billy had never seen those.
That's awesome.
And I actually, every card that I ordered, or even cards of Frank, I always order 2 so they can keep 1. And
that's awesome.
Billy's got a little collection going on. I mean, he collects everything, but
that's cool.
You know, somewhere at his house, he's got all the ZZ Top cards I've given him. You know,
that's cool. I always wonder, like, you know, we see this occasionally in sports, but I'm always like, why are they like? Do these guys not collect their own cards? Do they think it's a waste of time? You know,
I think that they sign these deals and they hear about it, and I think what ends up really happening is they're never giving them the finished product. So like they probably, like, their manager, business manager signs off on these deals, and it happens like Garbage Pail. Like they probably had to pay him something for that.
I would think.
Bearded Billy, some, you know, unbearded Frank. It was obviously ZZ Top. There's some sort of money that filters through there, but yeah, I think, you know, most people just, if they don't collect cards, they don't care, you know. And unless like they used them as gifts, you know, like I'm sure maybe at some points they get boxes sent of the exact same card just to have. Maybe they would have a little more knowledge about them because maybe they've signed them and put them in some Christmas cards for fun.
Sure.
And, you know, but some of the other artists, like I work for the Jonas Brothers off and on, not currently, but just off and on. And I see Nick Jonas has got a couple cards floating around. Miley, I work for Miley as well, and she had never seen her cards. I brought 5 or 6 for her to sign, and she was like, "Oh my God, where'd you get these?" And I was like, "I found them on eBay." She's like, "I was like, I figure you probably never seen them." She's like, "No, I've never seen these at all." And I said, "Hey, I got the rest of them at home. Do you want them?" She goes, "Yes." So
that's awesome.
Like that next week, I flew home and put them in there, and she was like so appreciative. She's like, "This is more than Disney ever give me."
Wow.
You know, because they made so much shit of hers. I just don't think they really sent her any of it. So I literally had like a box of like half of the packs left, and I just gave it to her. She thought it was awesome. You know, she appreciates that stuff. You know, she's very personable. She was totally cool. She would have signed more if I had brought, I just didn't want to overstep, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about that. Like the more you get into this, and I'm not, if I run into somebody randomly, which I have, I'm just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm on my way. You know, I don't want to bother these people.
Yeah. I will say this, I don't know why, but the newer wrestlers are like, this current generation of roster, like they're not as like nice and approachable as like, and it's kind of hard to think like that because you feel like the 90s guys were scarier, but the newer generation, like the Kevin Owens and stuff, like in real life, to me, he came off as a total dick. And I didn't even ask him for a picture or autograph or anything. I was just kind of, "Oh, hey, what's up, dude?"
Yeah.
I kind of kept walking. You could see he was just like, what the hell? So I get on the plane and I sit down in my seat, and before you know it, Corbin sits next to me.
Oh, all right.
So as I'm watching people get on the plane, I got upgraded just because I fly so much. These guys probably paid for it. I see Kevin Owens. He's walking to the back of the plane. I'm thinking he's probably pissed now.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably pissed at Corbin more than anything. You know, that guy got my seat, you know. But sometimes I've randomly flew with a couple wrestlers. Corbin was actually cool. He wanted to talk to me. He wanted to talk about music and whatever. So sometimes you meet people that are just super cool.
Yeah. So, one thing before I had one other question about your traveling, but you know, talking about the newer crop, and Karrion Kross has messaged me numerous times saying how cool the collection is. Like he's like, he tagged me in a tweet, and he's like, "Your dedication to building this out is amazing." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay."
I saw you share that video of him saying, "Oh, I know Zhan. Yeah, this is awesome." Like that's cool to have that kind of connection, because like, if let's just say you see him in passing, like if you're like, let's say you go to a Mania, you see him at the bar, and he's like, "Hey, that looks like that Zhan guy. Like, hey, what's up, dude? Can I buy you a beer?" Like, he's just gonna, like, he seems like he would be that guy. Now, some of these other guys, though, they're just like divas, and it's like,
yeah. Well, and when you have that connection, like, people are constantly, even now that he's back on TV, people are like, why are you sinking so much money into this? Why are you getting all these? You should be buying Hogan or Flair or
What
Andre,
did
this
I
kind of
tell
things.
you? What did I tell you that night?
You told me to start selling now, and I said no.
That's me, dude. That's me in a show. I collect until the right moment and just move it all,
Yeah.
usually.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, the
No.
connections that we talk about. Like that's why we do what we do a lot of times. Well, some of us, I mean, some people are just here to make money.
Yeah.
Some people are just here to hoard everything, and there's different spaces for everyone.
So it's funny, I've toured for years and years and years, and so just the thought of a wrestler coming out to a show to me is just like, okay,
Yeah.
finally. I've had so many chances for wrestlers to come, and they just never do. I've tried to get Gallows out a couple times. He actually wants to come. He put me in a group message with Carl.
Cool.
And he was like, "Hey, this is Evan," and then he's like, Carl's like, "Oh, dude, when you come to Tampa, I'm coming." Like these guys actually, it's cool to work for bands that the wrestlers appreciate. I haven't judging my job decision on that, but when I first started working for ZZ Top, I immediately was like, man, I wonder if they're going to have anything to do with like a WWE show while I'm here.
Right.
That's all I can think of. And I've missed out. So I've worked for Three Doors Down. They've like played the opening, they've done all that with them. Kid Rock, ZZ Top as well. There was a couple other people that I've worked for where I've just been like, what? Of course this happens after I'm not there anymore,
Yeah. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on with your travels is how, I'm sure you get a downtime. You've talked about it here and there. So maybe you're able to go to these local card shops. How's it been traveling all over the place and kind of getting the temperature of wrestling cards at all these different places? I know you talked about it a little bit, but if you could just kind of give us a more broad range aspect of this.
So I would say on a normal day off, if I don't have laundry or whatever, I'm just thinking like, okay, what shops can I go to that are around? Now Billy will go out all day long and go to all of his stores he wants to go to. Sometimes I get sucked into going that with him, but I'm always like, if we're out, I'm like card shop, and it's really the one thing that's hard to Google shops is it doesn't always show up if you just type sports cards, or sometimes it's like the place is called like baseball card den. You just to hit these keywords. So I usually type in sports cards or baseball cards or something just to see. And lately I haven't found that many shops. I did go to that place in Wichita, which I can give you the address if you go up there. It's inside of a bowling alley.
That's
awesome. It's just a random shop that has a sign out front, and it said whatever, it's Rock's Dugout or something is what it's called. The sign was from the 70s, so I knew this guy was an old school collector. So he had all these vintage wrestling posters from Kansas City Wrestling.
Nice.
I bought one for me, and the bass player in ZZ Elwood, massive wrestling fan. We talk about wrestling all the time.
That's cool.
When we're talking, it's 90% wrestling, 10% this new weed he got. It's the weirdest stuff. So this shop had a lot of wrestling cards loose. Like, how they have, they show the card example and then there's all the packs behind them. They had broken a couple hobby boxes, and it looks like maybe they had sold 1 or 2 packs of each, So I literally bought everything because I just like to buy all of it because you just don't want to leave anything behind.
Right.
And he did have a box of Prism, but this is when it was at like 600, and I was like, I'm good, man.
Right.
Now thinking about it, I'm like, man, it's like $280 on eBay now,
Yeah.
But I will say that I'm slowly starting to see more wrestling cards, especially even like in showcases.
That's good.
That was one thing that Burbank Sports Cards did not have for a really long time. And they consider themselves the best sports card store in the world. I think their collection is there. I've never been to a spot better than this place. They have everything.
It's very clean and organized from what I've seen too.
Beautiful cases, and it's rows of cases, so you can just kind of weave in and out like you're a Walmart and literally see everything. And then they have other rooms if you're just looking for raw cards that are, priced accordingly. But I've noticed that they started with like maybe a Hogan autograph, and then it was like I noticed they had like a Diva booklet with like Sasha, Charlotte, Becky, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. But some of their pricing, I they're off a little bit on
Right.
some of it. They're like it's over asking by like double, but it's because they don't really know and there's nothing comparable that they found.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes you can find a deal there
Right.
because like they underpriced a parallel or something.
It
Excuse me,
seems
it's
like
few and far
pricing
between.
wrestling for some of these non-wrestling people, or even
Yeah,
sometimes the wrestling collectors, like there's just not a lot to go off of. So it's just
yeah.
kind of throwing stuff out there.
You, I will say it went from like one or two cards, and the last time I was there, I think there were 10 to 20 in the showcase, and
Okay.
that's pretty good for wrestling.
Yeah. Especially a store like that that focuses on other things.
One of the cards they did have was one of your. Remember how I told you about those smaller those gosh, why can't I remember the name of those yellow smaller
Oh, the Monty
cards?
Gum cards?
Yeah, they had probably 3 or 4 different Hogan and
Wow.
Flairs graded, and then the last time I came in there, they were all gone. So someone bought them all.
So there's demand. The demand's picking up
That's
even
why
at
I
the
was
big
saying I
shops.
was like, man, you got something there because, and I kind of feel like there's still money to be made in the Monty Gum stuff.
Oh yeah, and there probably is for a lot of stuff. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's trying to get that, I mean, we've all talked about it, like trying to get more people, especially wrestling fans, into
Yeah.
actually buying the cards. But did you get to meet Rob and his son or any of the employees there? Because they
He's
seem like
always there. Um, his son is the only one I've ever really talked to. When I would come in, they had an older location that was pretty small, and it was by this cheap hotel called the Coast Annabelle, which it's probably not cheap, but it's not the nicest place.
Mhm.
And I would walk over there and buy a case, or, and I would talk to his son, and he would be like, "Man, you're like the only guy that buys this stuff." And I'm like, "This was before it had blew up," and they
Right.
had so many singles there that were like they had just started to sell, like buying collections of like all the Fleer stuff, and before it exploded. And so I set on some pretty good, Brock, Randy, John Cena rookie cards.
Right.
But yeah, it's just interesting how all that's kind of worked out. I think now that everything's kind of settled, the dust is kind of seeing the real values of everything now.
Mhm.
Um, will there be more wrestling cards at Burbank? I don't know. I think I think that they're only going to keep it to a minimum for a while, probably.
Probably. Yeah. We're
Because
gonna.
it's not proven enough to them. It's
Right.
proven to me. I've made plenty of money over the years flipping wrestling cards. Like,
Yep.
I don't know about everyone else, but when you wake up in the morning and then after for me, when I'm gone, I'll call my family and then I'm just right on eBay searching through saved searches. Like, let's just see if I can hit anything today.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about Whatnot. You were one of the guys I saw kind of jumping when they started letting a lot of different people sell on there. You were
Yeah.
like, I'm going to start selling wrestling cards, and you're one of the few. There are some others out there doing that as well. But how has that been for you? Because I had a lot of people approach me, and I think it's a really cool platform, but from a seller perspective and my schedule, it just does not work for me. So I want to hear your perspective. How's it been? What do you think? Thoughts?
I'm gonna divulge some numbers because
Okay.
I don't care, And when I first signed up for Whatnot, it was a very slow process. I think they were doing like additional people every couple months, and I didn't realize that at the time. I think they didn't want to flood the market too bad, which now if you go on there,
It's flooded.
if you type in wrestling cards and select, like I've got the people that I buy from on there, but oh my gosh, it's almost, and this I'm sure people will take this advice and it's true. It's almost like if you're just selling other stuff other than select when it's like or like when a release comes out, like maybe just wait
Yeah.
because what's happening right now is people are over investing into select and they don't have money looking for these like specialty cards you're selling. So at the very beginning, when I first started Whatnot, I was really bummed because it was very slow. I had been stocking up a lot of products on there. I thought it was going to be a quick deal, and it wasn't. But after I got going, I think the first show I made like maybe like $200 or something, and did it for an hour. I always try to do it at like 7 p.m. Central, because I figure everyone's hopefully had dinner by then. But then you got to think about California. So maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe they're driving home. So normally it's like I'm almost catering to like Midwest and East Coast. Um, what I noticed was at the time, people were going bonanza crazy for that Panini Prism. And then it just got to the point where like you couldn't give it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've always tried to make my streams a little interesting. At one point, I had a bunch of 2013 Topps packs I was cracking on there. I try to stick to like rookie time periods that I know are important. So any 2013 for Roman, 2014 for Sasha and Charlotte, 2015 for Alexa. You just try and pick those time periods. And if I would find stuff for a deal, I'd just put it up there just to see what happens. When you're not cracking packs, you make more money because cracking packs takes time. It is kind of fun though. I did pull a printing plane out of a retail pack. I popped a box of Champions, if you remember that.
Yep.
It was kind of a boring card set for cheap for years. You could get it for like $20 for a hobby. And I think I found one for like $40, and I just thought I'll just do it on there. And I think the autographs are one in every 2 or 3 boxes. In my box, it was a Miz autograph, which may actually be his rookie autograph.
That's interesting. Okay.
And in the same box, I pulled a Victoria autograph. So not only did I get one, but I got 2. I was just like blown away. And so I was like, what I've noticed, I'll pop in and out, but what I've noticed on Whatnot is I feel like there's not going to be any sealed wax in like 2 more years. Yep. Like it's literally going to be gone, except what you have at your house and like a couple I save back and a couple everyone's saving back. But like and just to go off a little side note, I've never seen so much product open ever until AEW Upper Deck. And I'm like, oh my God. So what made all those Dynamite cards special and the Wednesday in Action, it's all starting to kind of downward tilt because there's so much of it. It's not like they're just kind of there, you know? And now that they've readjusted their prices to what it really should have been priced at, 100, 120 for a hobby. What I've started to do, I think I was just mainly selling like very small to middle of the range cards on Whatnot because I was trying to get a feel for the audience. And I talked with Josh about this a lot. You don't want to just put out like a Hogan autograph 5 times in your stream, you know, like you got to pace. It's just like a pay-per-view. Did you lose me? Okay. It's just like a pay-per-view. And you have to build, you start with some small cards, do a couple slabs, couple small cards, slabs, and then have your like biggest stuff for the end. I think for a while I was averaging around 350, then it went up to 500, then 650, and then 700. And the last one I did was like 850. But what I'm starting to do now, and it's not because I'm just getting more followers, but part of it is I'm actually starting to sell like real collection pieces now because at first when you only have like 5 or 6 people in the room, not going to be much movement. You want at least 20 people in your room, hopefully, to sell some of those bigger items. And, sometimes people find really good deals in my stream. Like there's cards that end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lost my butt on that. And then there's other cards that people have gotten a bidding war and it just made the difference up.
Right.
So I do love Whatnot. They do make it very easy to print labels and just get it out the door the next day. My next sale is August 31st. I don't know when this is going to air. I always have slabs, autographs. It's mainly stuff that I've bought like through Whatnot that I just don't plan to keep. Packs that I open up like on the road. I actually was thinking about doing a sale while I was out here, but it doesn't have my hotel address for
the labels or
so I don't want to mess up their whole shipping scheme.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I do like using it a lot, and it's kind of cool. I've made some new friends off of it, and it's fun to go check out everyone's streams. Like Monday is a huge night. I never sell on Monday because it's such a big night. Like Card Foundation, they always have a great show. GTP 5's on there, like and then everyone just kind of filters in and out that, you know, I try to pay attention to. It's hard to, and if you think you're gonna be on everyone's stream, like I miss streams all the time, you know, it's hard, you know, especially when I come home from the road. I definitely miss out on things a lot, you know, because I'm just being a dad at home,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's why, like, you know, it's awesome to hear that this platform is working for you and working for
Yeah.
other people. It's from a buyer perspective, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I've been in a couple of rooms, I've been on a few things, and I think it's a really cool way to build a community also and further push wrestling cards for, you know, it's that interaction that you're having with those people. And, you know, like I'm an eBay guy and based on my schedule, and it's just much easier for me to just list stuff and it sells when it sells, as opposed to having to be, you know, what it sounds like is that consistency of same night, every day of the week, same time
Yeah,
is.
that is part of it. And so because I do travel so much, most of my shows I book a month in advance. And I always joke around, Triple H, I can't remember his real name, Triple H Authentics, whatever. I said, I think it was on Shui's Whatnot. I said, I dare you to come to my stream and not find something you like, because I'm not just selling like base 99-cent cards.
Right.
The I'm like this next, you know, some of the next stuff I'm going to sell are cards that are probably not going to sell for huge money, but you know, like you can maybe pick up a 85 Hogan PSA 6 for like $50 maybe. I don't know. I don't know what this stuff's going to go for. I got a Ray rookie PSA 8. There's no comparable sales on this. We're just going to sometimes you have to just let the people decide the market. And am I going to be worried if those cards sell for like $20? No, because like I've already invested in them. It's already done. And what I really have into a lot of the stuff I sell on here, it's okay if I lose a little bit money on, because I usually try to buy everything for as cheap as I can, you know?
Well, and that's just a business perspective. I've been saying that for a long time, that I know we're going on a little bit of a sidebar from Whatnot, but you know, dealing with some of these people that whether it's sports cards or wrestling cards, but it seems to be worse with people with wrestling cards. They don't understand dollar cost average, and they don't want to lose a dime on value of what they have. Like, I've got this into it. If I can't, you know, if I can't get this minimum, then I'm just gonna put it away in my box for other years.
Yeah. But you do have, like, so let's say ultimatums are made sometimes to my collection where I'm like, okay, I need, no, I don't have it, but like, do I want a Comic Images Rock Auto? Yes. If the right purchase came up for sale, I'd be willing to move some of my other stuff for less just so I could go ahead and acquire that card. But it's all cyclical, you know. You have to decide what are your long-term holds going to be, and that answer can change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, when the moment's right, it's okay though. All this Hogan stuff that I'm going to be sitting on for however long, like, you know, someday these guys aren't going to be here. You're not just going to be able to send a card to the beach shop and get it signed. So it's kind of nice to just have all this now. So I'm not worrying in 10, 15 years, like, man, I should have gotten something like that. You know, it's kind of worth, some of it's kind of just worth to get it now because, and it's not a good example, like, but when I needed that Paul Orndorff card, I was like watching them sell for like $200 or $300. And I was like, I just cannot justify that, you know, when that card was like a $60 card forever, you know?
So kind of closing out, what is a piece of advice, whether it's collecting Hogan autos, Whatnot, anything, what is a piece of advice you would give to wrestling car collectors out there from your experience in the hobby?
I would say right now is a very good time to buy because more prices realistic than not. A lot of these inflated Prism sales and everything that happened, I can't imagine how those people are feeling right now. You know, 5,000-6,000 for that one of one Andre that was a PSA 8 or something. For that much money, thousands of dollars for that card of a guy that it's the same photo that's been used. I just, you got to pick and choose what you're going to collect.
Sure.
And I usually choose something I'm like feeling like I'm getting a deal on.
Mm-hmm.
And also just something that I wouldn't mind keeping, even if,
if you're stuck holding it, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's been moments where I've had Hogan stuff and he said stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to be sitting on this for a while. But you know what? It doesn't matter because it kind of just turns back around for you.
Well, and even if it doesn't, if it's somebody that you're that big of a fan of, you can just pull them out and start going through your boxes on a rainy day and just entertain yourself with them. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. Like I love looking through old I still have like some loose cards floating around in boxes and kind of going through stuff like that. There's some stuff I just don't know when is okay to get rid of. Like I have a stack of like that Topps Heritage Chrome 1 from 2006. I literally have like every card of every good person in that. And I'm like, should I sell this now or is there going to be another boom? I just don't know,
Right.
And so I would say my advice is just hold on stuff that you like because it's kind of fun to look through all that stuff. And if you start and it's okay to go down a road you're not sure of, but just like hopefully have done your research before you get there.
So let everybody know where they can find you. But before you start putting plugs in, make sure everybody knows how to pronounce your last name.
Okay. My name is Evan Bovee. We're going to go with Bovee for now. We talked about this beforehand. When I went to France the first time, the girl was like, "Hello, Mr. Bovee. How may I help you?" And I was like, "Okay, it's Bovee." I just kind of, and then so everyone on tour calls me Bovee. However, my real name is pronounced Bovee. It's almost like it's Bovay, but it's Bovee. So my Instagram is Evan Evan, B as in boy, O V as in Victor, EE. And my Twitter is Evans on Tour. My whatnot is Evans on Tour. My eBay is Cash Me Out Back.
Nice.
And then that's it. I don't have too much. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, definitely a valued member of the wrestling card community on all different platforms. And I'll try to get the links to all your stuff, put it in the show notes so everybody can click on it.
Evan, if you find one, you can usually find the rest. So
thanks for your time. Thanks for, we're going to make this a 2-part series on the back end,
Cool.
So, all right. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks again to Evan for coming on the show, and again coming on last week. A conversation so good, we had to cut it into 2 parts. Make sure to check him out on Twitter and Instagram. Again, I've put the links in the show notes to those. And while you're at the show notes, check out all the ways that you can help show your support. Patreon, eBay store, Worlds Collide podcast. There's so much stuff down there in the show notes that you can help me to keep putting these videos out. If I brought you some value today, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. I'll see you next time.